2001. And now 3 balls and no strikes. No walks today for Holland. In fact, no walks in Cactus League play for Derek. And he gets that strike in. Hope these teams would love a win. It is only the spring, but the Cubs have lost 4 straight. Rangers have won only 1 of their last 9. Lofted to Josh Hamilton in left center field. And Holland still has yet to allow a walk. He came back from 3-0 down to Mather. He's still allowed only the 1 base hit through 4. Sparkling pitching so far by Derek Holland and Mike Adams, and some timely mid-inning hitting. Story of the game for the Rangers, leading the Cubs 3-0. And we're joined by the man who keeps the Rangers healthy as humanly possible and out on the field as much as possible. That would be the Rangers club physician, Dr. Keith Meister. Welcome.
Thank you.
What types of things worry you and the training staff most of all in the spring, where everyone acknowledges the main goal is get to the regular season healthy?
I would say that any injury that's going to cost us obviously any significant amount of time, and we don't worry about the little things, and I think we tend to be much more conservative in dealing with injuries and allowing guys back on the field in the spring, just so we protect the smaller things so they don't become bigger things. And I think that's probably the most prudent approach. And I think spring tends to be very long, and I don't think that most of the guys feel like they need the entire time in the spring, especially the veterans, to get themselves prepared for the regular season. So they know how many at-bats they need. Position players, the pitchers know how many innings they need, how many times they need to throw. So I think that we've got some flexibility to work around those things, especially when we're dealing with injuries. It's not like every game counts and every day counts.
Frank Castillo, by the way, on the mound, third Cub pitcher of the day, working to Adrian Beltre here in the 6th inning.
Keith, as the Rangers team physician, what exactly does your job encompass? Does it extend down to the minor leagues as well as the big leagues?
Very much so, and I think that's an important part of how I think we've changed a lot of the program here with the club. Jamie Reed got here in 2003. I got here in 2004, and I think one of the first things we did was implement a very stable, uniform, consistent system of maintaining health throughout the organization, and so much of that is preventative. The things that we do on the strength and conditioning side, the things that our minor league trainers do, are really identical to what our young players are going to be able to expect as they move through the organization. So the system is the same at low A as it is at high A, as it is at double A, as it is at triple A, and I think that because we've been consistent with a program that's been very, very good, we've shown a significant decrease in our overall injuries from year to year. I mean, the best way for us to track those things is by what really goes on with our pitchers with respect to their shoulders and elbows, and the numbers have decreased immensely over the course of the last 8 to 9 years. And as you know, I mean, pitchers take a while to develop, and if they can't be on the field and can't be healthy and they have major hiccups during that time period, they're not going to get to the highest level, and I think that it's been a part of certainly our ability now to maybe develop some of our own homegrown throwers.
You know, as a young guy, you won't remember this, but you talk about how far baseball has come in a lot of areas. In the 60s, when I started playing, until you got to AAA, you never had a licensed trainer with your team. And in Class A ball, the only thing that resembled something that a trainer or a doctor might have was we had a first aid kit that had like a couple of Band-Aids in it and maybe a little tape. But we didn't even have a trainer, let alone a team physician. So baseball's come a long way.
We could have, I guess you could have had Hoggy down there with a couple rolls of tape.
Anybody.
Cruz strikes out number 2 as we look at our MCA injury report. Craig Gentry, is there going to be anything that will linger and be bothersome at wrist?
I don't think so. Craig hurt himself early in the week. I have not seen him yet, but obviously the reports from the trainers are that this is a day-to-day kind of thing, and he ought to progress just fine.
And what about Mike Napoli?
Mike's coming along. He's got a little soreness in his groin. And again, it's one of those things in the spring you take a little extra time with. If you asked Mike if he could play today, and he would tell you yes. And if it were a regular season game, Mike would be playing. But again, it's one of those things. You just you take the time that you need because you really want everybody as healthy as they're going to be at the starting gate. And we always say we don't necessarily care how you start and finish spring training. It's how you start the regular season. So I think Mike's going to be just fine.
Is the groin a bigger worry than the ankle at this point?
I don't think either are concerned at this point. Mike's really come around. He's bounced back. He worked extremely hard in the offseason. He's gotten himself into tremendous shape. And again, these are just little nagging things that we're used to dealing with in spring training. And he should be ready opening day for sure.
Mitch Moreland able to work a 2-out walk here off Castillo.
Keith, we have a lot of teenage baseball players watching today. When you talk about conditioning, what are the kind of things, if let's say you're between the ages of 13 and 17, what are the kind of conditioning things they should be concerned about?
Well, as I tell all these young throwers that come into the office, obviously the biggest problem is that they're in my office, no matter how good they are. And what we try and do is educate them and get them developing the same kinds of habits that we teach our young minor leaguers, because the sooner they start it, the sooner they develop a consistency in their approach to what they're doing. And I think that most of the great players have the best routines. So really we like to teach them routine, and routine involves conditioning yourself from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, because throwing involves that whole progression of or chain of events to get the ball out of the hand to the plate. So we work a lot on educating them on core conditioning and conditioning their lower half, as well as put them on a good program for their shoulder and elbow, and the same program really that we teach our young pro guys that carries them through their careers.
When can weight training become part of a young player's routine? Is there an age, or does it depend what kind of weights they're lifting?
Yeah, I think there's the answer to that is yes to both of those things. I think that you really have to look at the individual. Not all 12-year-olds look like 12-year-olds. Some look like 10-year-olds. Some look like 14, 15-year-olds. So I think a lot of it depends upon the physical maturity of the individual, the athlete. We worry about the growth plates in these young kids, stressing them at too great an extent at too young a level. So I think that you really have to take each one of these younger kids, especially as they're developing through those formative years, and be smart and be very individualized in how you treat them. And that's something I really stress with the parents. Unfortunately, you've got a lot of these 14, 15-year-olds that are stretching to try and play varsity baseball and trying to perhaps play up a level, and they're just not physically ready. And I think you need to temper your expectations depending upon the individual. And I tell all these young kids, you're going to grow, and you're going to get bigger, you're going to get stronger. It just may be a little bit later than some of your friends, and when you do, you'll probably end up passing them. And I like to tell them the story of particularly Oral Hershiser, who was basically an undrafted, unrecruited guy, and he'll tell you grew 5 inches in college and obviously became a near Hall of Fame pitcher. So I think those types of things and little stories are helpful for them to appreciate. But it's so true. We look at Derek Holland. I don't think physically matured until last year. I mean, Derek probably put on 10 to 15 pounds during the season. And really started to look like a man for the first time. And so everybody's got a different time clock. And I think you need to appreciate that in our young athletes as you're asking them to do certain things physically. We just don't want them to overstress.
Dr. Keith Meister, thanks for visiting with us and enlightening us in a medical way.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Tom.
Rangers head team physician. Alexio Gondo out for his second inning of work. The third Ranger pitcher of the day. Pitching has been extremely strong. Tone set by the starter Derek Holland as LaHare fouls off the first pitch. Derek in 4 innings, near perfect. Only a 2-out single in the second by Wellington Castillo. Did not walk a batter. Still hasn't walked anyone in the spring. And struck out 2. Mike Adams struck out the side in his inning, the 5th. Cubs got to Alexio Gando for a run on 3 hits in the 6th. And in the 7th, LaHare, Castillo, and Lake scheduled hitters for Chicago. Second base. Captain Morgan Club is a climate-controlled restaurant sports bar located in the first floor space of the office building complex in left center field at the ballpark. The 2-level facility will offer table and bar seating for approximately 230 guests and contains over 9,000 square feet. Captain Morgan Club will be open to all ticketed fans before, during, and after Rangers home games. Tom, some very hard work put in by the Rangers to improve the facility at the ballpark over the offseason. And good news there. Those services now offered, but in air-conditioned comfort.
Yeah, and I know the Rangers are really excited about that. And from what we've read about it, I know the fans are going to be really excited about it too. Whether it's the Batter's Eye Club, Captain Morgan's Club, the Kids Zone, the Rangers have spent a lot of money and a lot of effort to make that as fan-friendly as they possibly can. The Captain Morgan Club, that'll have a full-scale bar, full a la carte menu for hamburgers, salad, sandwiches, barbecue. Also, the studios are going to be out there for Fox Sports Southwest, 103.3 FM ESPN. We'll have some pregame and postgame out there. Kid Zone is going to be terrific too. It was nice before, but it's very difficult before when it was 100 degrees. Now it's going to be in the air conditioning. There'll be interactive areas, video games, kids concessions, kid-sized Ranger merchandise. Big kids can have fun climbing, sliding, and jumping. Little kids can enjoy stacking boxes, turning a windmill. Rangers captain will be out there. All sorts of things all game long for the kids out in the Kids Zone. That's going to be terrific. I'm looking forward to seeing when we get back myself.
I am too. Junior Lake grounds out to Garcia, and Ogando retires the side in order in the bottom of the 7th.